Welcome to another edition of Wings Weekly. Jay Kleinknecht here, along with head coach Scott Langer. Coach, we've got a lot to talk about in today's show, and certainly that is a big part of it. Central Cup coming back to Aberdeen. Your Wings took care of business Friday night, won 7-2 in a game that was really lopsided. And you closed out Minot Saturday by winning 4-2 and won the Central Division title. First of all, congratulations on a huge achievement, a huge accomplishment. As a staff, what did you guys think of the games up in Minot?
Well, the way we approached that first game and, getting Pitters to get out early, a minute into the game, whatever it might have been there, and then to answer right away with Joe. And then as soon as they came back and scored, Mikowski, gets us back on the board again. And after that third goal, I just thought that, we were doing so much good things out there, and our structure was good, and our defensive zone was good. And, I know on their side they didn't think they played well, and that's fine. But our staff thought we played extremely well, and the score was indicative of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, limited, like you said, defensively, very limited chances, not just shots on goal. I think they ended up with 15 total, at least on the scoreboard. But the actual real scoring chances were something like 3 or 4, and so that says a whole lot. And when you're able to, again, as you mentioned, score early in the first and come out in the third and score 2 goals inside of a minute, I think it was 34 seconds or something like that, you're definitely putting the nail in the coffin, so to speak, and took away any chance of any momentum that Minot might come up with. Saturday, a little more of a competitive game, a little bit more of a nail-biter, but end up with the empty netter to seal the deal. And, man, it was a lot of emotion and stuff. What did you think of the game itself to start with?
It was a really good game. They mixed their lines up, and I thought that they became deeper when Marty did that, and they were buzzing. We had to really weather the storm, especially early, and I thought getting out of that first period with 0-0 was extremely important. And then, we took over in the second, and we were a little opportunistic there. Again, a guy like Bendorf gets us on the board when we need it. He's certainly been pretty special here in the playoffs. And again, when they tied it up 2-2 right out of the gate in the third period, our guys reacted the right way. They certainly didn't sink, and I thought they upped their game. And obviously, Rocco makes a heck of a play, turns the puck over, and Bendorf reaps the reward of that. And that was huge of that line to turn over that puck and to end up going down on a 2-on-1 and finishing that off. And I thought after that, our guys were really sound defensively. We weren't allowing a whole lot of chances against, which is what we need to do when we play with a lead. Mm-hmm. And then obviously it was pretty nice when we scored that empty net and didn't allow it to have them be able to come out there 6-on-5 and pressure us and have to sweat it out.
Yep, excellent. Bendorf with 2 goals, as you mentioned, Brad Belisle, and then Rocco with the empty netter. And man, it just I mentioned it to you actually on the bus, but to look over as that's winding down and just seeing the boys on the bench jumping up and down, see you fist pumping and everybody smiling. It's just there's so much emotion in there, and it got me thinking about your celebrated career so far. You've had some big moments in your career and in your life, obviously. Where does something like this rate, or are they all kind of the same, or just maybe some a little more special than others?
I don't know. Every year that you do something well and you achieve something, it feels it's special.
Yeah.
I guess I couldn't say where it ranks up to. I mean, to do it, to win the Central Division 2 out of 3 years is certainly something that's it's not an easy feat.
Right.
This division it's just a war every night, and there's so much parity within the teams 1 through 6 that to be able to achieve the Central Division and get the honor of representing this division in the Robertson Cup is pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work during the, you and I talked about it before the game. It takes a lot of work. We had to win 57 games in order to achieve that. That's a lot. And I was just so happy for these guys to go out of town, play in someone else's building, win 2 in a row, sweep it on the road, and take the cup in their building. The odds are stacked against you to do that, and it's a testament to what we have here in the locker room.
Without a doubt. And hats off to the Minotauro organization as well for them to be able to present the cup the way they did on their ice, and they kind of had a brief write-up wishing the Wings the best of luck and stuff. It was pretty classy for them. Awesome for our fan bus to make it up there and fill a section. They were hooting and hollering and having a great time too, and it was awesome for them to be able to celebrate with the team a little bit like that too. And of course, as the guys came out of the locker room, they're lined up, ringing bells and letting them hear it. And I know these players, it means a lot to them as they're coming out with their cameras on and their phone and videoing the arrival, I guess, as they came out of the locker room. Coach, you mentioned it with Coach Murray, and you and I have talked about it on a handful of occasions over the course of the year. But I wanted to talk about depth and what it means, because this team, we talk about it a lot. Because you have great depth, and different lines can score and so on. But I feel like it makes matching lines and keeping fresh legs out there a little easier. And I feel like maybe you and Coach Hill see that depth as a little more beneficial than even what the average fan would recognize it. What does it all mean to you?
Well, I mean, especially when you're playing in the playoffs and you're on the road, and the other team has that last change, and they get to dictate who they're playing against your lines. To be able to have depth and to be confident in all your lines, to be able to play against their top lines or their banging lines or whatever they may have, the chemical makeup of their team, is extremely important. There was quite the chess match that went on this past weekend between Marty and I, and obviously we got the benefit of it on Friday night. Once we got up, we were able to really not have to worry about too much of a matchup. But the game on Saturday, he was real clear about who he wanted to play against who on our team, and he was dictating that line change, which I was comfortable with it. I was real comfortable with whatever line that he may try to mismatch against us. I was real confident with it, and it worked out. Like I said, you don't get to dictate your line change when you're on the road, and sometimes that's difficult when you don't have depth. So us having the depth that we do have has certainly been a big part of our success.
Yeah. Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because I talked about it in the broadcast how there'd be a face-off, and I think it was Lance that comes out, and then you've got Pitters that steps up to the dot, and all of a sudden there's a switch. Nope, it's going to be Skoog. So you're right, Coach Murray definitely trying to get matchups that he felt like were in his favor. Next up, obviously the Robertson Cup semifinals. We'll take a quick break here, and then we'll kind of talk about what's coming up this week, and of course, as we now know, the Amarillo Bulls. So we'll take a break and be back with the second portion of Wings Weekly coming up right after this.
Let's make a taco. No, seriously. Start with a tortilla, soft tortilla. Warm it, kiss it. Don't kiss it. Chicken? How about tequila lime chicken? Now we're cooking. Slice this, peel that, snip those. Salsa? Verde. Cheese? Cotija. Oh, forgot to mention guac. That's better. See, anyone can make a taco, but we're not anyone. We're Qdoba, and these are knockout tacos. Qdoba Mexican Eats. Choose flavor.
Welcome back as we continue on with Wings Weekly. And Coach, as we kind of led up to before the break there, Robertson Cup semifinals coming up. There's a lot going on this week with travel and arrangements and meetings. And how big of a challenge is it to make sure that these guys aren't too distracted and are prepared for that game, the first game Friday?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly can be difficult, when you have to worry about the travel and the banquets and the meetings and all the stuff that leads up to playing the actual game. It's quite a bit. So, this team here hasn't given me any reason to worry about that. They're just really focused on the task at hand and what they want to achieve, and we're going to roll with it. But I obviously will talk about preparation. Coach Hill does a great job of grabbing these guys and making sure they're doing what they need to do when they need to do it. And from video to hydration to rejuvenation, the whole thing. So certainly, I think we'll be prepared in that area.
I would imagine too that maybe there's a little bit of a message to these guys too, but they want to be able to enjoy this. And I would imagine as a coaching staff, there is a kind of a balance there, because this is a big event in these guys' lives, and you want them to be able to enjoy it and really kind of take it all in the moment, but yet, like you said, keep prepared and ready. So, but it is kind of a big deal for these guys too, huh?
I think, once that banquet ends on Thursday night, it's a whole different gear, and you have to be able to really focus on what you're there for. And the next happy time, obviously, is if you can win it all. We went through this quite a few. I went through this quite a few times, but this team here did it 2 years ago and got there, and it was the same crappy feeling. We played well, but we ended up losing a tough game, and it's still tough to deal with those type of losses.
Yeah.
We're a team that's going here to win this thing, just like 3 other teams, and I think our focus level come Thursday night after that banquet is nothing but on the Amarillo Bulls.
Point. Well, interesting that you bring up 2 years ago. There was those battles were just gutty and hard fought, and double overtimes. And even then, when you get there, overtime games and so on. Since not having to go Game 5 in either series, kind of feels like maybe this team has got a little bit more juice, a little fresh going into it than 2 years ago. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, no question. We got to come home and kind of restart our week and our preparation, as opposed to staying in a hotel and have to go right into the tournament and throwing on the pads and playing right away. So. I would think that this would be an added benefit the way it's worked out to kind of have a week of preparation before we get up there.
Yeah, right on. You'll face, like I said, as we now know, the second seeded Amarillo Bulls, who finished their regular season 46-8-6 with 98 points, and through the playoffs are 6-3-1, beating Shreveport yesterday to win the South Division. You've got some history with Coach Russo and the Bulls, and even some former players like Trey Bagwell and Logan Genuine. What are your thoughts on the matchup with the Bulls? Have you had a chance to kind of check them out?
They're as deep as we are, if not more. They're a team that can certainly hurt you in transition. They could score. If you make a mistake, they're going to score. They're a well-coached hockey team. They're made for this kind of environment, and they have a lot of guys that just can flat out get it done. And I think it's going to be a great series against them. And what's been in the past with Coach Russo and I and all that stuff, none of that stuff has a bearing on what's going on. This is 2 teams that, no question, are going after this cup, and I think it's going to be one heck of a series.
Right on. I'm looking forward to it, and I know a lot of people are. And I wanted to check, you obviously coach down there, and you've been around longer than, the Wings, obviously, and a lot of fans and so on. Is there a different style of play that the South will bring that maybe the Wings, who I've always played, obviously, in the Central, with the exception of Chippewa Falls this year, that they'll have to prepare for? Is it a little bit different?
No, I would think it's not it's not that different than us preparing for each team in the Central Division. Each team kind of has their own way of doing things and their identity. There's no different from team to team in each division. They each has their own identity. They're all built differently. I would say that we're gonna go through this as if we're preparing for another team within our division. They're gonna have all the tape in the world on us, and we have all the tape in the world on them. And at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to who makes the most mistakes and who doesn't. And both teams are good hockey teams. Obviously, we finished a point apart in the season. So, like I said, I think it's going to be a great series, and the health of both teams is certainly going to be something that's important. And it'll be fun once we get there.
For sure. A couple of other awards and so on that were announced during the week last week I wanted to make sure and mention. Of course, all NAHL first team Brad Belisle and Matt Vernon, so congratulations to them. All Central Division team forward again, Brad Belisle, defenseman Dalton Weigel, goalie Matt Vernon. Central Division Most Valuable Player and Goaltender of the Year, Matt Vernon. Central Division Forward of the Year, Brad Belisle. Central Division Coach of the Year, Scott Langer. Central Division Organization of the Year, the Aberdeen Wings. And Central Division Community Service Award, Jonathan Bendorf. So again, congratulations on all the hard work for all these players, and of course to you too, Coach, for that Coach of the Year for the Central Division Award, and of course the organization too. That's huge. Let's see. Now, the NAHL Robertson Cup semifinals best of 3 series Friday, May 10th versus the Amarillo Bulls at the Fogarty Arena in Blaine, Minnesota. 7:30 puck drop for the 2 and 3 seed. Saturday, May 11th versus the Amarillo Bulls, Fogarty Arena in Blaine again. 7:30 puck drop again. And Sunday, if necessary, May 12th versus the Bulls, 6 p.m. puck drop. Ticket and hotel information is available at the AberdeenWings.com website or at nahl.com/Robertson-Cup. As always, you can watch every Wings game, away game at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Aberdeen, or by logging on to hockeytv.com or tuning in to 94.1 The Rock, hubcityradio.com, or The Rock app. The other semifinal series, the Johnstown Tomahawks versus the Fairbanks Ice Dogs, will be Friday and Saturday at 4:30 puck drop for them, and Sunday, if necessary, a 3 p.m. puck drop. And the NAHL Robertson Cup championship game is Tuesday, May 14th, 7 p.m. puck drop. For all the latest news and information on the 2019 Robertson Cup playoffs, visit AberdeenWings.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. Coach, again, thanks for taking some time and letting us get a piece of your mind a little bit about how the week went, and also, of course, what's coming up. And first and foremost, congratulations on the Central Cup and the accomplishments of this team.
Yeah, that's thank you, and that's on behalf of obviously the entire program here and what we have going on, and it's equal success. So thank you.
All right, folks, that'll pretty much wrap up this week's Wings Weekly.